Hello, welcome back to Blobby's British Toys. Yes, this is a new series I'm going to be doing all about the 80s. I'm going to start off with 80s movies. So the first of these series of videos I'm going to be talking about is the movies. And yes, this is a very easy topic to talk about. And very easy to prove that the 80s were better, definitely in this respect. Yes, I know the current situation means there's not a lot of films coming out, but it's been happening for a few years now that they're just rehashes, sequels, nothing really new's coming out. But the 10 films I'm going to be talking about from the 80s, 2 were definite sequels and 1 was kind of a reimagining, I guess. The 7 others were totally original. How many films in the last 10 years can you say that of? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through every year from 1980 with the film that I think was the best. My personal favourite, definitely, but I think most people's favourites as well. I think there's only one year that I was 50-50 on, but I'll talk about that when we get to it. So let's start with 1980. And yes, it is a sequel, but one of the best sequels ever, The Empire Strikes Back. Not really much I can say about The Empire Strikes Back, but it is the masterpiece of filmmaking and definitely the best Star Wars film so far. Empire Magazine give it a 5 out of 5. Rotten Tomatoes is 94% and IMDb is 80.7 out of 10. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think I actually saw the film in 1980. I can't really remember when I did actually see it. All I know is that I saw it on a double bill, which was Star Wars and Empire Strikes Back together, and it could really have been as late as 1982. The Empire Strikes Back was the highest grossing film of 1980. Number 2 was 9 to 5. Number 3 was Stir Crazy. Number 4 was Airplane. Number 5 was Any Which Way You Can. Number 6 was Private Benjamin. Number 7 was Coal Miner's Daughter. Number 8 was Smoking the Bandit 2. Number 9 was Blue Lagoon. And number 10 was The Blues Brothers, which is another film that's in my top 10 favourite movies of all time. On to 1981, and it is, of course, Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is my favourite film of all time. Empire is 5 out of 5, Rotten Tomatoes is 95%, and IMDb is 8.4 out of 10. This was the first film I saw by myself in the cinema, and considering I was 11 at the time, it's pretty scary actually. I know I went multiple times to see it, at least 2, definitely 2 anyway. And it's really funny why I rate this more than the Star Wars films. I guess we could go back to the fact that I like the Star Wars toys more than the films. And if we'd received the Indiana Jones figures in the UK, that might be totally different. But that's a discussion for another video. Raiders again was the number 1 ranked film of that year. And trust me, I'm not going by number 1 rankings. It's my favourite film of each year. Number 2 we had On Golden Pond. Number 3 was Superman 2, which is an excellent film. Number 4 is Arthur. Number 5 Stripes. I didn't realise Stripes was that high up. I really like that film. Number 6 Cannonball Run. I saw that at the cinema. Number 7 is Chariots of Fire. That's quite low down. Number 8 is For Your Eyes Only. James Bond is always a money maker. Number 9 was The Four Seasons. And number 10 is The Time Bandits. So on to 1982. And even though I'm slightly conflicted, it's a 50-50 split in this one. I'm going with E.T. This is a film I guess you had to be there at the time to understand the hype around this movie. It certainly hasn't aged that well, but come on, you've always got a tear in your eye when you watch this, haven't you? I think this is a film that more people were lining up straight after they'd seen it to go see it again than any other film. There was even the running gag from Christopher Lloyd when he was on Taxi on how many times he's actually seen E.T. So Empire have again given it a 5 out of 5. Rotten Tomatoes is 98%. Can you believe that? And IMDb is 7.8. The biggest memory I have about seeing E.T. in the cinema is my little cousin shouting out at the end, "We love you, E.T." Again, this was the number 1 grossing movie of 1982 by a long, long margin. Number 2, we have Tootsie. Number 3, An Officer and Gentleman. Number 4 is Rocky 3. Number 5 is Porky's. Number 6, surprisingly, is Star Trek 2, which is the other film that is one of my favourite of all time films. Number 6, After Porky's. Number 7 is 48 Hours. Number 8 is Poltergeist. Number 9, we have The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. And number 10, we have Annie. So on to 1983, and yes, there's only one movie that can be Return of the Jedi. Now I have to say that I know Empire Strikes Back is the best Star Wars movie, but this, Return of the Jedi, is my favourite movie. I guess I was just at that right age. The merchandise was everywhere, and I just couldn't wait to find out what happened to everybody. And considering this was pre-internet days, the rumours on this film were rife. I did actually read the storybook before I went in. I knew what was going to happen, but it didn't spoil my enjoyment. So the reviews, Empire actually give it a 4 out of 5. Boo, Empire. IMDb gave it 8.3, and Rotten Tomatoes is 82%. Wow. You got to remember these scores are from now, not from then. If he'd have done it from then, it'd been 90% at least. One of the reviews says, this is a proper triumphant final, filled with action, and yet coming from after the best and emotionally richest chapter, The Empire Strikes Back, a slight disappointment. Again, maybe it's one of those films that you had to be there at the time. So of course, Return of the Jedi was number 1, ranked in the highest grossing films of 1983. Number 2 was Terms of Endearment. Number 3 was Flashdance. Number 4 was Trading Places, great movie. Number 5 was War Games, I actually saw that at school. The whole year got to sit in the assembly hall and watch it, funnily enough. Number 6 was Octopussy, James Bond again. Number 7 is Sudden Impact. Number 8, Staying Alive. Number 9, Mr. Mom. And number 10 was Risky Business. So not really good movies that year. So that Return Jedi was probably going to be the highest in many years, but not so many good films that year, I'm afraid. But 1984 was totally different. And my favourite film of this year was Ghostbusters, of course it was. And this, surprisingly, is the first film that's not number 1 in the box office. The first thing I can remember about Ghostbusters is I had a pen pal, and she actually got a pirate copy, and she told me it was really good. We obviously didn't know much about the cast in the UK because we didn't get Saturday Night Live, and I don't think I was aware about Stripes till after I watched Ghostbusters. And definitely by this year, I was about 14, I was going to the cinema twice a week. Monday and Thursday were pound nights, so you could see your movies for £1. And that meant I saw Ghostbusters 13 times. And there was a little movie on at the beginning every time called Skeet Troops, and we learnt the dialogue by heart. It was kind of a documentary thing that we could never get his heads round. Was it a comedy? Was it a documentary? I just don't know what it was about. All I remember is one line in it where they said big sausages for the Germans, and that just creased us up every time. But yeah, I actually saw it in my local cinema 12 times, and then me and my friend, we went to Scarborough for the week, and the local cinema was playing, you guessed it, Ghostbusters, so I went and watched it for the 13th time. We did kind of expect that little Ski Troops film to be on, but it wasn't. I think we're quite gutted, really. So Rotten Tomatoes have given it 97%, IMDb 7.8, and Empire obviously 5 out of 5. So the highest grossing films of 1984, number 1 was actually Beverly Hills Cop, which is another movie I actually saw a few times with my pound. I think I saw it 3 or 4 times. Number 2 was actually Ghostbusters. Number 3 was Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Yeah, number 3, that's quite disappointing. Again, it's a movie I obviously saw a few times at the cinema. I think the first time I actually won free tickets to see it. Number 4, we have Gremlins. I didn't see that at the cinema. Number 5 was Karate Kid, I saw that. Number 6 was Police Academy, I saw that. 7, Footloose. 8, Romancing the Stone, I saw that. Number 9 was Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. It was post Star Wars, and I'd gone back into Star Trek, so yes, I saw that a couple of times at the cinema. And number 10 was Splash, I saw that too. On to 1985 now, and Back to the Future. This is probably number 2 of my favourite films of all time. And again, I actually got free tickets. I saved tokens from the newspaper, and I took my friend, and as it was Saturday morning, he was moaning that he couldn't watch Greatest American Hero. But at the end, he was grudgingly agreeing that it was a really good film. And it was quite unusual that we could go shopping straight after watching it. And I actually got the storybook and cassette, which was quite surprising because it was a couple of weeks before it was the premiere in London. I can remember I also bought a Miami Vice poster at the same time too. It's weird what you remember. And it's really weird because I actually had most of the clothes that Marty wore actually in my wardrobe. So I started dressing like him. You know, it's like pre-cosplaying days. I actually did start cosplaying as... it wasn't cosplaying back then, but it was just like dressing up. And I don't know if people thought we were a bit weird, but I used to dress up as Indiana Jones before, like when Temple of Doom came out. I actually made my own backpack and wand from Ghostbusters and constantly wore Ghostbusters t-shirts and sweatshirts, even to school. Making you wonder I didn't get a girlfriend. So Empire give it a 5 out of 5, IMDb give it 8.5, and Rotten Tomatoes is 96%. Near a perfect movie as you'll ever get. It was also the highest grossing film of 1985. Number 2 was Rambo First Blood Part 2. Number 3 was Rocky 4. Number 4 was Colour Purple. Number 5 was Out of Africa. Number 6 was Cocoon. Number 7, The Jewel of the Nile. Number 8, Witness. Number 9, The Goonies. And number 10, Spies Like Us. Again, not really a great year for movies. And 1986 wasn't particularly brilliant, but the best film was Top Gun. I say best film, but Rotten Tomatoes has got it at 54%, IMDb's got a 6.9, and Empire's got it 4 out of 5. Again, it's probably one of those movies that you had to be there at the time to really enjoy. I don't know. A lot of people see it as a chick flick, but I've never seen it as that. One of the reviews actually says not exactly a cinema classic, but it has not only become a cultural icon, but remains infinitely rewatchable. And to be honest with you, it's one of them films you can't really classify. It's got like comedy elements in it. Anthony Edwards is really good in it. He's really funny in it. And Tom Cruise tries to be really macho. There is a lot of action in it, and there's a lot of love. It's like a love story. I don't know. Put in the comments below what you think it is. What he did do was get the number 1 highest grossing film of 1986. It closely held off Crocodile Dundee by $2 million. Number 3 was Platoon. Number 4 was Karate Kid Part 2. Number 5 was Star Trek 4, A Voyage Home. Number 6 was Back to School. And that beats out Aliens at number 7. Number 8 was Golden Child. I think I've only seen that once. Number 9 was Ruthless People, and number 10 was Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Yeah, that is a better film than a number 10 slot. On to possibly the weakest year of the 1980s, and that was 1987. Indeed, the film that I'm choosing, not even in the top 10, and it's Robocop. I don't think the 18 rating give it a much chance in the box office, but it only became popular after it was released on VHS. I never saw it on the cinema. I do remember getting the VHS and taking it to work when I worked at McDonald's, and I put it in the staff training video recorder and just left it running all day while I was working, and everybody was watching it. The review scores go to show how popular this film actually is. Got a 4 out of 5 Empire. Rotten Tomatoes is 90% and IMDb is 7.5. So to the box office. Yeah, get ready for this. Number 1, we have 3 Men and a Baby. Number 2, Fatal Attraction. Number 3, Beverly Hills Cop 2. Number 4, Good Morning Vietnam. Number 5, Moonstruck. Number 6, which is probably the best film in this top 10, Untouchables. Number 7, The Secret of My Success. Number 8 is Stakeout. Number 9 is Lethal Weapon. And number 10 is The Witches of Eastwick. On to 1988 now. And yes, I was 50-50 on this. Maybe 60-40. But I have chosen Die Hard. This is another movie that I actually saw twice at the cinema, but it became more popular after being on VHS release. Again, maybe because it was in 18. Bruce Willis was a really big star around this time, really big, with Moonlighting being out, and I love Moonlighting. But this movie definitely changed Bruce Willis into an action star. But again, it's one of those films that's more well loved now than it was back then. Empire's give it 5 out of 5. Rotten Tomatoes is 94% and IMDb is 8.2. So your top 10 for 1988 is number 1 is Rain Man. Number 2, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Number 3, Coming to America, which was the other film that I was kind of half and half on because I love Coming to America. Number 4 was Crocodile Dundee 2. Number 5 was Twins. Number 6, Rambo 3. Number 7, A Fish Called Wanda. Number 8 was Cocktail. Number 9 was Big. And Die Hard was actually number 10. So until last year now, 1989, and this is probably the year I'd put up there to show how good this decade was. It's a really big toss-up for which is going to be the best movie this year, but I'm going to go for Batman. It's probably 1 out of 4 or 5 I could have picked. But back in 1989, this was the most hyped movie you'd ever see. You think movies are hyped now, but this was extraordinary. I can even remember on the day it was released in this country that there was an athletics meet on TV and there was everything around the stadium was Batman. And that was the first time that's ever been seen. I can remember being so excited to see it and it didn't disappoint. For me, Michael Keaton is the best Batman ever. The Batmobile is the best Batmobile ever. And Jack Nicholson was the best Joker ever. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but that's my opinion. I'm not saying it was the perfect movie. It wasn't. Definitely wasn't the most perfect movie they could ever brought out. But it was just totally different at that time. Tim Burton's vision for Batman was amazing. And it led into the sequel. And even the animated series was based on that Batman. Even down to using the music. And talking about the music, the score was perfect, but the Prince soundtrack as well. I even bought a Prince album because I loved the film so much. So the reviews were 4 out of 5 for Empire, 71% Rotten Tomatoes, that's a bit low, and 7.5 on IMDb. So let's go into the top 10 highest grossing films of 1989, see what other films came out that year. Number 1, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Now that could have been my number 1 film of this year. Back to form for Indy. Number 2 we have Batman. Number 3 we have Back to the Future Part 2. A bit darker than the original, but still brilliant. Number 4, Look Who's Talking. Number 5, Dead Poets Society. Number 6, Lethal Weapon 2. Number 7, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Number 8 is Ghostbusters 2. Yeah, not as good as the original, obviously, but still good. Still could have been up there as my number 1. Number 9, The Little Mermaid. And number 10, Born on the 4th of July. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that. I really enjoyed going through all those movies and thinking back to the good old days when you could go to the cinema for £1. I have so many memories of going to the cinema in the 80s. It's really funny that I can't really remember many cinema visits since 1990, and that's probably due to the lack of quality of movies. I don't know. It might be to do with how old I was at the time. I really want to hear what you think about 80s movies and movies now. And if you think movies are better now, let me know in the comments. I'd like to discuss this. Really would. Again, it might be my age, but I do think that people still go back to the 80s and say that was the best time. I'm going to be doing more of these series about the 80s. I'm going to be talking about toys, obviously, because it's a toy channel. But let me know what you would like me to talk about from the 80s and now. With that said, please like, subscribe, and share this out. I want to get as many people involved in this community and grow it. We have a wonderful group of people at the moment. I'm sure there's more people out there that would love to listen to what you say, because this channel is for you. I want to hear your opinions. So thank you for watching. Please check out the hundreds of other videos I've got. There will be something for you there. The playlists are coming up. So until the next video, may the toys be with you.